Okay, so welcome back. We've got none other than Prasoon Joshi talking to me. So Prasoon, you told me so much about how films can also make a better creative person in advertising. So would you suggest more of our young advertising creative talent dabble with films and lyrics and stuff like that?
Well, it's not, nothing is prerequisite.
Set.
I think you should definitely flirt with our various art forms. You definitely should not see advertising inspired by advertising will not take you anywhere. Advertising inspired from life will take you somewhere.
I think these are golden words. Advertising inspired by advertising won't get you anywhere. So I hope all you youngsters are listening to the one and only Prasoon Joshi. So Prasoon, another thought. Tell me, I'm tempted to ask you this. You are today an outstanding creative professional. I want to delve a bit into your personality when you were a child. What are these personalities like? Boisterous, deep, individualistic, outward, mischievous, quiet? Do you think future creative directors display any particular trait in their early years?
No, I think one thing if I can tell is that I was always authentic.
Authentic.
I was always myself. I think there was a time I was very shy and quiet. But if I met, like we meeting here, and today, it doesn't take me much to talk to you. I mean, we have a long history.
Correct.
Now, if I strike a chord, I could converse, I could open up. But most of the time, I will be very withdrawn and observant, and I've definitely gradually worked on that and started sort of going and mixing with people more. But yes, whatever it was not put on. It was not that I have to become this. You can be anything and be in your natural self. I think it's very important to be authentic. Your voice has to be authentic.
So let's go back to, you said you had a lot of work that you're very proud of, and a lot of that work partnered you in media. But do tell our viewers about that one piece of work which you think the Indian creative and marketing community has under-recognized. Everybody knows Thanda Matlab Coca-Cola, and everybody knows Happy Dent, and everybody knows Saffola.
I get your question. I think most important thing, I think, is the work done in crisis. For example, when the Coke issue was there, now the Maggie issue is there. I think what we do not understand when an advertising professional and a communication person has to work with so many limitations, where the ecosystem is very different. There is a hostility, there are attacks, there are limitations. The canvas is so small, legally what is allowed. The canvas is so small and you have to paint in that canvas. I think we fail to recognize the efforts when the canvas becomes very small. And my work in those, for example, work done for malnutrition, which is probably will never even come out because it's done videos, it's done, audio visuals and wall paintings for rural market. Now that does not come out because, I think we do not get enough time to go through that. So I feel the work done in crisis mainly and in a very small canvas
is under-recognized.
Is that the kind of, I have a lot of work, so I can keep on talking and bragging about it.
So
but
in all the
intent.
work that you've done in both in films and on brands, is there any regret that I should not have done that? Or is there something you feel that I want to do but I'm not getting an opportunity to do?
I know such regrets. I think
No
one
such
thing when
regret.
you talked about it, why do you do so many things? And I think one thing I always remember is that you've got this life, and if you don't stay frustrated. I don't want to stay frustrated. When I go home, I have to whistle. I have to be, happy. And for that, if you are frustrated and you are not expressed well, you might take out that anger or angst onto people who are around you. I think that's what I want. I want to be well expressed, and so I try and do whatever sort of.
Well, I got a sense reading your today's Economic Times article that you are sort of slightly expressing a little resentment at some marketing people being manipulative
Yes.
of the fragile consumer mind.
Yes.
Let's talk about
Yeah,
little
I
bit
do
about
feel.
it.
I do feel. I think as a society we are becoming very greedy, and I see sometimes. I mean, I have worked with brands which really, at heart and soul, are they think so much about the consumer and the future of the consumer and humanity. That's the reason they have survived for so long. I find some products launched or trying to make hay while sun shine, not thinking long term, just trying to quickly, overnight create awareness about the brand and sell it and go off. Sometimes I feel if you are not in sync with the purpose of, I think consumers can do away with you, can do without you. We require a certain responsibility when it comes to, just because advertising can build brands. We should not misuse that.
And do you think we are going a bit over?
Sometimes we do, because there are fly-by-night people out there. There are. And I am perfectly, I really respect the profession. I feel advertising very honestly puts, the intent.
The truth.
The intent that I am out there to sell. You might find these sort of fuzzy areas in media, a lot of other professions, even in film sometimes. Are you trying to entertain, or you're trying to be taking advantage of the gullible people out there? Advertising can be criticized. That's the reason, people might hit you for that. But you interrupt. You come in and you say, I'm here to sell you a product. Now I'm going to sing a song, which is a song for a brand. You never hide that. And you bring it forward. Yeah. Most of the great advertising
Our
is
intention
transparent.
is clear.
Transparent. Most of the great ads are transparent. So when I'm what I'm alluding to is that sometimes we lose consciousness of that. And we need to constantly remind ourselves, the brands which are not in sync with the human good and life will eventually not survive.
Not survive. So it's ultimately the consumer always gets it right.
Sam,
So-
I have a long journey. See, I come from you have lived in big cities. I come from a small town. So for me, every step of mine was a new challenge. Doing a job which I'm doing today, running a company, is not what I sort of designed myself for. I have learned from people like you to sort of be able to do justice to what I've been given.
Let me take you back to the thought you were expressing now. This is something that concerns me too. Minister Prasoon has been talking about making celebrities responsible for the ads and their claims in which they appear. Now, whilst I personally am all for, accountability, I think it is taking accountability a bit or stretching it to make, say, Amitabh Bachchan responsible for a claim made in a Nestle Maggie ad. What's your view?
See, I think it is collective responsibility. I think everybody who's part of the ecosystem. See, eventually the consumer should not be taken for granted. I feel whatever law you pass, whatever culture you have, at the center of it, it has to be the good of consumer, that they are not taken for a ride. But cornering a few and saying is this is responsibility, that's responsibility, I think it's also not fair. You have to see that this is a collective responsibility and you have to own it together. And society, when realizes that we have to move on from here, we have to put filters. I welcome the filters. I think but we have to be realistic and fair when you put those filters.
Well, being realistic and fair, my concern is once the government gets into the act, it's a bit difficult. That's why we have a very successful Advertising Standards Council of India for self-regulation, which is working very well in the area of advertising content. Anyway, we'll talk that on another day. I think with that we'll come to the end of this interview. I could go on talking to Prasoon for a long time. He's a man you can never tire of talking to. But since we have to end this interview, we'll end it on this note. I hope this conversation with Prasoon will inspire a lot more young people to follow the kind of trailblazing career that he has embarked upon. And I would say the journey is far from over as far as Prasoon is concerned. He's very young, so he's got a full life ahead of him. So you could expect a lot of great things coming from this little brain over here. Thank you. Till we meet again.
Thank you. I wish I can continue as long as you do. Thank you.
Oh. Huh?